masters of speed. This is Formula One.
Hello there. So, Hungaroring setup. Let's go. Waiting for the 5 red lights. Starting this tail porch here. Let's go. The starts that you can get with these F2 cars are phenomenal. They're really, really good. As you can see, just need to be mindful of grip around this circuit. Understeer, still very much an issue. But we just manage it the best way we can. Stay away from this curb. Do not touch it. You will find yourself bang in trouble. Spun around. Not good. So you're just modulating the throttle through this section because you cannot give it the full beans. Just gotta be so careful coming up to this corner as well. You get on the loud pedal too quick, it's game over. Absolutely is game over. So 37.0 for the opening lap. Not too bad. Not great, but not too bad either. As I said, we're still on a massive learning curve. By the end of this game, ready for the next game, I absolutely will be line off completely for the F1 cars as well. So something for me to work hard on in 24, especially to get my pace back to where it currently is. Because with the F1 cars I'm about 1.3, 1.8 seconds slower than with the line on, because when you get used to something, let's say run wide. When you get used to something, it takes a long time to break those habits, especially when there are faster lines through various different corners. And got to get used to moving my eyes, moving the eyesight, because when you're going into a corner with the line on, you're only focused on that line. You ain't focused on the corners. You ain't focused much on anything. So I did a 32.5. I know I can go faster than that. I'll go a lot faster to be fair.
Maloney's just set the fastest lap of the race.
But I'm not too bothered about setting the fastest lap. It's never about that. It's about just showing you the consistency of the car setup, basically. You know, and what the car can do and what the car can't do. You know, it's Hungary after all. The setup will obviously be at the end, like it always is, but just take your time, learn. And that's my best advice. Just keep on keeping on. You know, we've all got to start somewhere. There's absolutely no way that the 20 esports drivers that are currently out in Sweden preparing for this year's esports suddenly jumped into a car and was, you know, super fast. There's just no way. There's absolutely no substitute for time and when it comes to it, repetition. That's the main thing with these games, racing games, is the repetitiveness of riding a circuit and constantly changing your braking points, changing different lines through a corner to find the fastest line, changing your setup to see what works, what doesn't work. And if you change your setup and it doesn't work, you can always revert back to the original, right? Like I said, stay away from that curb. Give it the biggest wide berth you can imagine. Always struggle with the chicane. No matter whether I'm F2 cars or F1 cars. So much tidier. Middle green. It's okay. And it's nice as well now, especially when I'm learning to see the set of times going green. Like I said, you've got to be careful coming up of that corner, this corner, and turn one corner. The tyres screaming by the end of the lap.
Okay, final lap. Let's go. Final lap.
You know. It's just the nature of the circuit. I try to avoid this curb because sometimes it can bounce you straight over onto the next curb and nobody wants a lap invalidation. Managed to pull away from the pack though, create a bit of a gap for myself, which is good. This has been Hungary. The setup is coming next. Do all that good stuff. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll catch you in the next one.
So another fantastic victory for ART today. So, Davide, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
The difference was in the strategy. Credit to the driver for sure, but races like this really drive home how much of a team sport this is. They did a lot of work on the pit wall to really make the most of each stint and to make the best use of these tires. But that said, all of that would have been for nothing without a talented hand on the wheel.
ART, the French team who have been racing since the 90s in various forms of motorsport, are once again back on the winner's podium today after a brilliant display of driving skill. Now then, Davide Valsecchi, who would you say was your driver of the day?
Difficult call, but I'd like to say Theo Pourchaire. He's just so gifted at getting the most out of the tires, and he showed that today.
Well, what a weekend that has been. Please join us next time for another thrilling installment when Formula 2 returns.
So, this is what I've done with Hungary. Hungary, like Monaco, like Singapore, it's going to be a high downforce circuit whether we like it or not. The higher downforce you run, the better traction, the better grip, everything. Less understeer. Unfortunately though, understeer is still quite prominent, and there's not a lot we can do about it. Just try and minimize it as much as possible. Obviously, understeer is caused predominantly by taking or carrying too much speed through a corner. And when the front end doesn't want to turn in on the car slides out wide of the corner, and then obviously that produces understeer. So it can somewhat be controlled by yourselves, but sometimes it needs to be dialed out with a setup, and we can only go so far with a setup. So 50 on the front, 45 on the rear seems to work really, really well. Just like a F1 setup, really. On the transmission, then, for this setup, I've gone with 60 on, 40 off. You can get away with running 80-20, no problem at all. Wouldn't recommend going any lower than 60-40, but again, for the sake of this setup, I've gone with 60 on. On the suspension, then, you can get away with running right, left, but because it's a setup, and I'm going to try and maximise the setup. For league racing, I do a lot of league racing, and if I was to run a race in F2 around Hungary, I would be using this setup, no problem at all. So I've gone with minus 2.6 on the front, minus 1.2 on the rear, 0.03 on the front toe out, 0.013 on the rear toe in. It works, but as I said, if you guys are just racing against AI or whatnot, or whatever, you can get away with running right, left. On the suspension, then, just like Silverstone, to be fair, it's a real stiff type of car. I have come to the conclusion that for circuits that have a lot of slow and medium speed corners, like Hungary has, you do need a very, very stiff car, or firm car, then, if you like. So on the front suspension, I've done with 41 on the front, rear suspension of 36, a front anti-roll bar of 18, a rear anti-roll bar of 12. I've gone with a 34-38 ride height. You can go a 33-39 if you want, but 34-38 for this setup works really well. Especially for my driving style, and I've said this before, and I will keep on banging on and keep on reiterating it, that the more you change in this car setup to suit your own driving, the better it will become. You've got a base setup right here, just change it, and if it doesn't work, revert back to the original setup and then go again. Onto the brakes, I've gone with 56%. There's only one real heavy braking zone into turn 1, possibly turn 2 as well, but turn 1, 56% seems to work really well. On the tyres, then, with it being such a twisty turny circuit, high downforce circuit, you're going to need low tyre pressures. I've gone with 22.3 on the front and 20.0 on the rear. Even with it being 20.0 on the rear, the lowest we can go, tyres on the rears, if you are throwing the car around a lot, pushing the car to the utmost, the tyres do overheat. There's not a lot we can do about that. The only thing is just be more gentle, look after the tyres on the car, it is what it is. There's no setup, can't help you anymore because you can't get any lower on the tyre pressures. But this has been the Hungaroring. I really hope it helps you guys. Do me a favour, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Even if you're only just popping in just to get a setup and you're not interested in anything else, just hit that like button. It shows me that you guys are looking at the setup, shows me that you like it, dislike it, etc. But until the next one, take care. Peace.